What's going on, everybody? It's Mr. Marklevitz here once again to bring you another lecture video. We are starting a new unit today, Unit 5. We are talking about editing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh boy, Marklevitz is finally going to teach us After Effects. No, okay? That will come later as we, go through this class. But, you have to learn how to walk before you can run. So today we're going to be talking about some editing basics and how editing can be used to create space, time, and rhythm in your films. So let's jump right into it. Now, when I first started making movies with my friends back in 1999, I was obsessed with Office Space. And this scene in particular was a pivotal moment for me because prior to this film, I just assumed that all movies were shot with multiple cameras. And then I'm watching Office Space for the 15th time in a month, and I'm in the middle of this scene, and I'm asking myself, how come I don't see the camera in the other shot, right? I'm not looking at these characters from an angle. I'm looking at them straight on. How come I don't see the camera? And then the light bulb went off. There is no other camera, okay? These films are shot with a single camera and then edited to make it look like everything is happening simultaneously, right? And that was a big moment for me. That was the moment that I discovered how important editing is for your films, okay? So with editing, we can create these different worlds simply by joining different shots together, okay? We're going to call this spatial relationships, okay? Let's take a look at this example from The Godfather. We have Al Pacino walking down these stairs. We have this guy over to his right. We have the woman in the car over to his left. And all the camera's doing is cutting between Al Pacino in the middle, the guy on the right, and the girl in the car on the left. And the audience is smart enough to figure out that shot 1, shot 2, and shot 3 all occupy the same environment. There's enough continuity, and we're going to talk about continuity later, to sort of help the audience understand that these shots occupy the same space. They help us create a mental map of the setting, okay? You can also use editing to connect shots that are thematically similar. In this scene from The Jerk, we have a character with a gun who's firing it at Steve Martin's character at this gas station, all right? Now we cut to the shot of Steve Martin next to these oil cans, and the cans are being shot. And then we go back to the guy across the street with the gun, back to Steve Martin, back to the guy, back to Steve Martin. And we as an audience understand that these different shots, the guy with the gun and Steve Martin trying to, save his cans, are connected thematically, all right? This guy has a gun, there's bullet holes over here. We never see these two characters in the same shot, but again, the editing is creating this spatial relationship by connecting these common elements, the gun and the bullet holes. And this linking of shots leads us to the Kuleshov Effect. Now, Lev Kuleshov was a Soviet film theorist back in the early days of cinema who discovered that if you take these shots and put them next to each other, they will evoke meaning and emotion in the audience. And he did a very famous experiment called the Kuleshov experiment, where he would take a close-up of a man and then immediately follow that shot with a bowl of soup. And then you ask somebody like, hey, what do you think that guy's thinking? Well, he's probably hungry, okay? Because you see the guy, you see the soup, they're next to each other, and you go, he probably really wants that soup, okay? And then he would have the exact same close-up of the man paired with an attractive woman. And you go, now what is he thinking, okay? Oh, he's probably got his eye on that girl, right? It's the same shot of the guy. The same guy that looked hungry with the soup now looks very lustful with the attractive woman. And now again, here's the exact same close-up of the guy paired with a deceased child, and now we ask, what is he feeling now? Oh, he's very sad. He's very sad over the death of this child. But again, it's the same shot of the same guy. His face is emotionless, okay? But when you pair that shot with the soup, he looks hungry. When you pair it with the attractive woman, he looks lustful. When you pair it with the deceased child, he looks sad. And this was a big discovery because Kuleshov proved here that when we're watching films, when we're trying to analyze and understand the images that we're seeing on the screen, the meaning and the emotion and the understanding doesn't just come from the shot, but how that shot is linked or connected to other shots, okay? That is how we analyze films. So when we see a close-up of a man's face, we don't know that he's hungry until that shot is paired with the bowl of soup, and then we as an audience go, ah, he wants that soup, all right? You can also use editing to create temporal relationships between shots. Way back in Unit 1, we talked about flashbacks, and here they are again. A scene that takes the story back in time. We gotta go back in time. So in this example from Forrest Gump, we're slowly pushing in on Tom Hanks's face. He's telling the woman next to him about his story, and he closes his eyes, and now we cut to a small child with his eyes closed, and we have traveled back in time. And this is also another interesting example of what we're going to talk about later called a match edit, where we go from Tom Hanks closing his eyes, cut to a small boy with his eyes closed, so we as an audience understand that these two actors are playing the same character. The way that they're composed in the shot, the way that their eyes are closed, tell us, the audience, that again, even though these are different actors, they're playing the same character because of how they are shot. All right. You can also use elliptical editing. Now, this is another term that we talked about way back in Unit 1, but it's worth refreshing. All right. The elimination of unnecessary information. Let's take a look at this example from Clueless. We see young Cher walking through the hallway at school. She meets her friend Dee. They're having a conversation, and now we cut to this exterior shot of Cher's house, and the audience just gets it, okay? We don't need to see Cher leave the school. We don't need to see her get into her car. We don't need to see her drive across town, okay? Unless something happened between the hallway and the house that is important for the plot, we just get rid of it, okay? The audience will understand, okay? You don't need all of those in-between steps unless something important happens that we just need to know. But since we don't, we get rid of it, all right? You can also have a montage. Now, a montage is a series of shots that help condense time. Typically, we see montages in, like training sequences, like in Rocky or Team America, right? But a montage isn't just for training sequences, okay? Anytime we have a series of very quick shots that help us condense time, we call that a montage. In this example from Snatch, we have a character who's trying to get from New York to London, and Guy Ritchie, the filmmaker, uses a montage to help us get there very quickly. Take a look.
You hear that, Doug? I'm coming to London.
Now, how many hours does it take to travel on a Concorde from New York to London? I don't know. I don't even think the Concorde exists anymore. But, at least a couple of hours, all right? But in the film, we don't have a couple of hours to spend with this character as he travels from New York to London. We need to get him there quickly. So Guy Ritchie uses this montage, all right? Just a series of quick shots that are all sort of linked together that show this character on his journey to London. It happens in 5 seconds. He's there, and the audience just gets it, all right? You can also use editing to give your film a little rhythm, right? We can have shots that are extended for a very long period of time called long takes, or we can have very quick edits or quick cuts like we see in this example from a very underrated film called Dark City.
He can tune.
Now with a film like Dark City, the cuts are happening so quickly that it's hard for the audience to even understand what they're looking at, okay? And at times it can be difficult to watch. Everything is just happening boom, 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 so quickly. Whereas in a film like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick uses a lot of long takes to sort of let the audience not only breathe, but just sort of, you know, invest in the image, in what they're looking at, okay? He really allows the audience time to explore the frame, and I understand that shots like this can be boring, but I don't know, I find something very hypnotic about movies like this, okay? But Kubrick also understands the importance of quick edits, like we see in this scene. It starts off very slow, but as HAL 9000 attacks Frank as he's doing this spacewalk, the cuts come much quicker. And because Kubrick is Kubrick, all right, he understands that the rhythm with which you edit is very important for helping the audience understand, you know, the emotion, I guess, of the film. Now, a lot of modern filmmakers will use quick edits when they're doing a fight scene or, you know, some sort of dance scene, because again, fight scenes and dance scenes have a lot of energy, and when you're cutting very fast, those quick cuts are certainly commenting on, you know, again, the intensity of these scenes. But if you go back to like the early days of cinema, especially, you know, dance scenes with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, or, you know, these swashbuckling scenes from Zorro, there's a lot of long takes in these early dance scenes and these early fight scenes. The actors really had to know what they were doing, okay? And I understand that, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people think that these old scenes are boring simply because the camera never cuts, but I hope that you at least appreciate the amount of athleticism that a lot of these characters or these actors had to endure while filming these scenes, because, like, today, if you have an actor that can't dance, you can cut around that, okay? Just film enough close-ups and edit it really quickly, and hey, old Joe Nobody is a dancer now, okay? You couldn't do that back in the 1930s, all right? So I hope you at least appreciate what those actors could do, all right? Your lab assignment for this week, I made a storyboard for you guys. It has 6 shots, and you guys are going to film these shots in class, edit them together, and the idea is that it will hopefully give you an understanding of how editing can be used to create space, time, and rhythm, all right? And our film for this week, we are going to watch Bonnie and Clyde from 1967. It's probably one of the most important American films ever made. It was sort of the introduction to the American New Wave movement, and I think it's credited for creating the MPAA rating system. So yeah, we're gonna watch this one this week. It's a wonderful film. I think you're gonna enjoy it. So yeah, that's what we have lined up, all right? Email me if you have any questions or talk to me in class. And as always, thank you for watching. Goodbye. I changed it up a little bit.